Welcome, Milwaukee. This is the 104.1 River West Radio with Dave Clark and Doug Cornfield today. Dave Geitz is still basically playing. He has a summer camp that he does all year in Pennsylvania, and he is unable to join us because they have him basically working 15 hours a day or more. And so we do have, as you saw on the screen, a pretty special guest. I'm going to bring him in. We're going to make the show about him. He's got limited time because he took a new position. He just flew over from Germany. This gentleman and I actually go, I don't know, we go a little bit back. Dave and I met him. This is when we met him that night.
Yep.
And he got excited, I think, a little bit about Dave's story, about the children's book that we've written, which is The Pound of Kindness, that is the inspiration behind this Pulling Each Other Along show. And we actually met him at the Super Bowl in 2019 in Miami. And we were introduced to him by somebody we'll probably talk about a little bit later, a guy named Bob Schmidt. But without further ado, we want to bring in Mr. Robinson. Hey, bud, how you doing?
How you guys doing, man?
Good, Willie. How are you?
I'm good. It's nothing like that DC humidity. As Dave said, as Doug said, I just flew in from Germany, so excited for the opportunity. Excited to be back home. It's been a long time, so yeah, well, I'm here.
It's kind of cool. You got a full circle going.
I was gonna say let's back it up a little bit, Willie, and let's get into your story a little bit, because it was kind of intriguing learning about your story through a man named Bob Schmidt back a couple of years ago in Miami when we first met at the Super Bowl. But you're back home. I mean, this is kind of full circle for you, because give us a little background, a little start from the beginning, if you would.
So I come from really humble beginnings. I grew up in Southeast Washington, D.C. I don't know if you guys know much about Washington, D.C., but that's the other side of the track. There's not a lot of positive things to say about the place. Besides, there's a lot of great athletes and there's a lot of people with a lot of potential, but just due to the circumstances, for one reason or another, very few make it out. So I consider myself as making it out from there. I also consider myself really fortunate because I had some people who took a special interest in me, who guided me in the right direction. Along with their gratitude, helped me to find my way. And I'm a testament of being a man for others. A lot of people made a lot of sacrifices on my behalf just for me to even be sitting here sharing this moment with you guys. So that's always something that's special. It was tough coming out, but I'm still moving forward. I haven't reached where I want to be in regards to as a man, but I'm still trucking. And
very good. So I'm going to give a little background story, because Willie, you and I met. We had run into Bob Schmidt at the Super Bowl on Radio Row, and I got to introduce him to Dave, and he took a liking, it seemed like, to Dave, and he wanted us to be introduced to you. And so at the Wounded Warrior Amputee football game, we were able to meet you that night, and I didn't know you were going to be posting pictures with my children's book overseas in Germany and all that kind of stuff, and showing it with your kids, and we've just stayed in contact, and we had kind of both talked about re-meeting at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
In 2020, not knowing COVID was going to hit us at that point. And there's so many special stories. I think we can only get to part A of your story, of being pulled along. But one of the beautiful things about your story when it started unpacking, and this is actually a picture of you and me at this year's Super Bowl in Tampa, when you flew all the way from Germany. And then I had an opportunity to interview you, talk about how we wanted to write your particular chapter in the Pulling Each Other Along book. And it was like it was playing out in real time when we were in Tampa together. And the whole story was it took a totally different direction than I thought it was going to go. It was just incredible learning about your story. But that whole process has, I think, put together one of the greatest chapters in the book. And the thing that I love about your chapter is that when we're talking about pulling each other along, we talked in your story that's like a train of wagons. There's so many people that help pull you along, and now you're in turn pulling other people along. But let's try to focus in on one of the stories. And I don't even know which one you want to go with, but try to figure out which one story. Give a little background about maybe starting in the, in DC, in the hood, basically, where you were.
I mean, I'll start by saying, like, an old quote. I think if I don't get it right, then it's something along the lines of you can't help but knowing that there'll always be someone along the way to help you, but only in the direction that you're going. So with that being said, again, my when you think about my childhood, when I think about all the guys I grew up with, a lot of them, maybe 50 to 75% of them, are not here. If there was 10 of us when it started, there's only four of us that lived to talk about it. So yeah, that was the beginning. I think I want to start with Mr. Gerald Smith is a guy who was watching me, and I didn't know he was watching me. He wasn't my coach. He was just a teacher at my junior high school, and he took a liking in me. I would go to all the after-school programs. I think I kind of hung out at those because I knew I can get a square meal, at those programs. So I always tried to put my best foot forward and just lead people in the best direction I could. A lot of it had to do with some of the things that I dealt with growing up. I was ashamed of. So, like any teenager, when your family background is not the best, you can be ashamed of things that you really don't have control over. They always say you don't get to choose your parents. Unfortunately and fortunately, my parents went through some struggles, and I think that just motivated me to just try to be the best version of myself, because I knew that if I stepped out of line and tried to go in any other direction besides positive, I would have got killed, So that's just cut and dry the reality. Where I was from, growing up where I grew up, people killed people who stepped out of line. So when it came to sports, and when it came to leadership and just trying to be around a positive influence, that was my holy grail, because I could then go through these communities that were drug riddled, crime riddled, people getting murdered on a daily basis. I think during that time in DC was the murder capital of the U.S. At that time. So the only way I could stay on the straight and narrow and stop from being taken advantage of is by staying on the straight and narrow. By staying on the straight and narrow, whether it be the drug dealers, whether it be the people who were in the organized crime, they gave me a pass. Hey, that's the little football player guy. Some people may think when I walked home or I came home from football practice, I was wearing my clothes because I was proud. No, I'm wearing my clothes because I didn't want to be a target. So that gave me confidence, because even the guys who were not so on the straight and narrow, they would say to me, they would be like, "Hey, keep doing a good job," you know, and they always give me a vote of confidence, and that just made me want to do more. And that just became my who I was. That became my image. That became everything. Even to this day, when I look back on people who know me, they know my story, but yet somehow they gave me grace. You know, they gave me a pass. You know, never to put me in a compromising situation that would in turn either land me in jail or either in a cemetery. So I give a lot of credit to those guys who, even despite what they were going through, they never influenced me or would never even allow me to get off course. So that was a motivation. And back to Gerald Smith, you know, Gerald was just a guy who was had been exposed to be able to see some different things, and he just knew that the environment that I was in, that I had a chance to make it out, or I deserved better, you know. So he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and before you know it, you know, there's two types of people in the world. There's people that say they'll do things for you, and there's other people who actually do. And most people who do great things kind of lead by their actions. You know, they let their deeds do the talking. And he put me in his car, and before you know it, we were going around town, talking to private schools and places that he thought would be good for me. And he told me, pick my choice where we want to go. And you know, one thing leads to another. Going back to the quote from Memphis Slim. As long as you're going in one direction, there's always someone who will help you get to that direction. So that was the beginning of it, and I think that was the start. And it was kind of like a holy grail towards even that I use today in my life in regards to what I want or where I want to go. I don't know how to get there, but what I do know is by being positive, being the best version of myself, and helping another will ultimately get me there, you know, because you get favor that way. The universe gives you favor, and whatever God you believe in gives you favor when you do good for others.
Very good. Very good. So what did what happened at that particular time? What changed your life initially when he was taking you to these schools?
Someone, you know, in life, all you need is, you know, for anybody who's thinking, I guess what I can say now is that all you need is one yeah in life that'll change your whole life, you know. So we always worried about being accepted and what's going to happen and how's it going to work out, or, you know, where you're thinking your blessing is going to come from or your life changing, you never know where it's going to come from. So all it takes is for one person to say yeah and change your life. So in that case, Gonzaga College High School, where I went to high school, is an all-boys Catholic high school in Washington, D.C., one of the oldest Jesuit schools in the country. They say yeah. And when they say yeah, you know, at that time, I think tuition was around $10,000. It's one thing for them to say yeah, but I'm like, I can go work at Popeyes because I was working at Popeyes. I was working at a fast food restaurant at night. My cousin gave me my first job. She was the manager. I can work at Popeyes, but ain't enough shifts and ain't that much chicken in the world to get this done by the time I needed to get it done. But thankful for the situation. You know, I never really saw a bill from there. I never really had to deal with that. So someone, without me knowing, sacrifice on my behalf, and whoever that person is, I just want to say thank you.
Right, and you don't even know who that person is that led you to that. So anyway, you've got a lot of other people that help pull you along. I don't know if you're frozen right now. Hopefully this has been the Pulling Each Other Along show. We're on the 104.1 River West Radio. We have Willie Robinson, who's got just a tremendous story of overcoming extreme poverty, and you'll be able to read his story in our book coming, the Pulling Each Other Along book, with him being the Fresh Prince is one of his names, the Fresh Prince McLean, though, not of Bel Air, and he's also just been an amazing person as far as to get to know. I was able to interview Willie. He is frozen right now, so hopefully his internet will come back, so I don't have to tell all his story. You back yet, Willie? Willie, you back? Let's see. We'll just there's a guy that. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
I was. Do you see the picture that's on the screen right now? We've got a picture of Willie with a statue of a coach. Who is that? Can you hear me? No, we can't see it. He's struggling right now. It's that.
Well, one of the things, Doug,
Yeah, go ahead.
Willie said, I totally agree with, is that you need one yes. With that quote, I could certainly identify with that, because that's basically what I got to change my life was one yes, and that was from a scout named Art Gaines. It gave me a chance to fulfill my dream, and it totally changed my life and the path that I was going down at that time. So totally agree with Willie there, and I think, as I've always said, I talk in the locker rooms, and the point I bring up is to the players is you got to be willing to prepare and sacrifice without any guarantee of an opportunity, because then if you do that, when that opportunity comes along, you're going to be ready. If you don't do that, the opportunity comes along, it could slip right past you, and it may be the only time you ever get the opportunity to pursue your dream. So I think Willie did that. I did that. And so I totally get where he's coming from. It's an amazing story, though. I don't think either you or I ever had to deal with the extreme living conditions. When
I interviewed Willie, as he's trying to get back on right now, and I'll unmute him when he gets ready. But he told me his story, and it's one of those stories that he gets very emotional on this interview that I did. Hey, Willie, as you're getting back, I want to tell the story when you were over at a friend's house and you were playing some video games, and your friend had taken a bite of a chicken wing or a chicken bone and threw it underneath the car. And then you went in and played games, and in playing those games, you came back out and you remembered that chicken bone, and you crawled underneath that car, and you wound up grabbing that chicken bone because you were so hungry, and you ate it. And I don't think most of our audience. What was that?
I said it wasn't a bone until I finished with it.
Yeah. But
we were just talking, Willie, about you talking about you need one yes, and I totally agreed with that, because it kind of paralleled my situation growing up, with the severe limitations that I had, and but it takes one yes. But Doug and I were both talking about neither one of us had to deal with the extreme life situation that you had to deal with and overcome to follow your dreams. That's for sure.
That is for sure.
I think, first of all, I apologize about the internet. My sister's kind enough to let me crash until I get my situation figured out. So it may get a little loud out here because I tried in the back of the house, and I'm pretty much back on the street in Southeast DC. So
we're outside today too. We don't normally do this, but Dave's up from Florida. We have an event. Actually, we're leaving to go to Rochester tomorrow, and then we're working with some folks at a Miracle League field in Rochester area, and then next weekend we're doing our sports camp here in Corning. So we can give a little advertisement. We're doing our Disability Dream and Do sports camp, and it's completely free for families if they want to register. Go to d3day.com. We also need some volunteers for that. That's Saturday, July 31st. And so Dave's up here, drove up, and we're actually doing something with the Ronald McDonald House on Sunday too in Syracuse. So we've got a few things going on while Dave is here.
But let's go back to Willie for a minute. I want you to talk about your association with someone who people may recognize and just recently earned a Super Bowl ring. I think you know who I'm talking about. So take it away and tell us a little bit about that person and your interaction and your relationship.
Well, Byron Leftwich is a childhood friend of mine. He's a little younger than me. He was a kid who I grew up with. We had a special relationship because he came under us, and he was really passionate about what he did. No one. He was very gifted, and very driven. Till this day, I mean, it's a testament to be a two-time Super Bowl winning champion. He's just one of the dogs out of our kennel. You know, he's always been really supportive of me, and he has. I guess our dreams were always the same. So if uh, you know, the most important thing he did to me is when he was able to uh, put together a pretty good professional career. Whenever I was traveling overseas and I had to go the long way, I had someone to follow, and it every day I can get on TV and do an interview or watch him at a game or something like that. It just gave me motivation to keep going. So uh, there's a there's a there's a chapter in my story.
It wouldn't be right if we weren't in Washington, D.C. and didn't hear a siren, right?
That's right. Yeah. So there's a part of my story where I talk about chasing B, and I think chasing B is just it's like the North Star. As long as I could see him doing what he was doing, it motivated me just to keep going and to trust the process and just to never to give up. It was just a confirmation for me to continue on my path, and remember why I started it. So more than anything, he served as a motivation to me. And it's about you never know and where that confirmation will come from in life. But as long as you stay on the path, those wagons start to pull along. So I tried to be a role model and example to him, being 2 years older than him, and it came back to pay dividends. Like you never know when your fruit is going to bloom, and sometime you may plant that seed earlier, and it sprouts up right before you, and it could be your guiding light, and it could save you. So just his story alone, just him being extremely successful in what he does, what he's doing, has allowed me to know that we come from the same background, and just allow me to never give up hope or give up faith, because as long as I can see him, I can see a piece of me, and that's probably the best thing he ever did for me.
Right, and that was the picture I'm showing for those that are watching on live on Facebook and YouTube. And this is a picture of Willie and Byron Leftwich. A day after, 2 days after he won the Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, and I know that meant a lot to him for you to fly all the way to Germany to go in this COVID laden time frame and still be in Tampa and we couldn't even go to the game because it was so limited as far as tickets. We were just there in Tampa, and you were there with your childhood friend who was the offensive coordinator who put together a great game plan to win, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing when you're genuine and you really care about somebody, it was never really about the game for me as much as it was about the spirit, the spirit of just being there, being in that environment. A lot of people look at success and they look at attaining things different. Some people do it for material Well, but it's just something about the spirit. When it's true, it it guides you in a different way. So whether or not I just wanted to be there because I was there in spirit inside of Raymond James, and that's good enough for me. You know, it's just that's just how I roll. That's who I am as a person. So um, I didn't go down there expecting anything besides what I got. I got more than what I could ask for, and that was just to be there and just take it all in. So that was pretty good.
Right. And for me, I got to be a part of interviewing you, watching this story literally unfold, learning about your childhood with him and the poverty and then the playing football together and literally walking miles to play football with each other and then him becoming this amazing athlete who was a Heisman Trophy candidate and also, you know, NFL draft. It's so many things, watching a childhood friend do that, especially coming from such a rough place like you guys did. It's a cool story. And it's just really just one of your stories.
Yeah,
You've got lots of names, lots of nicknames. But now you've got a new journey and we got a few minutes left on the live show here.
I got a little bit more time.
Okay. So we got 4 minutes left on the show, but you've had a big change and I had, brought a guy, you, and a statue. There you go. I know he means a lot to you because what is this coach mean to you?
Man, you're gonna make me cry now.
Uh-oh. No, you would never.
Interesting enough, man, he means everything to me. Growing up in the side of town where I come from, Big John, before I ever thought about being a football player, before I ever do anything, I knew Georgetown Hoya, and it was through what Coach Thompson was doing up at Georgetown that gave us a vision. I can think of so many things. So it was like when you're from the other side of the tracks, you only as a kid you just have the audacity to hope that one day you can make it out. But John Thompson made it as though all of us felt like we belonged there. You know, to some of my friends, I got a funny joke to say that I remember growing up so much following Coach Thompson so much that people thought Georgetown was an all black school. So we didn't know no better. But it's funny when I'm standing next to that statue, I'm almost trembling as if he was standing there because he's the father of many of us. He's the voice. He's a Washingtonian himself. He just represents everything on the hilltop that we could ever dream of. And the fact that he was there and the fact that he gave second chances and the fact that he stood up for the people who don't, for the unspoken, for the people who, that can get lost. It just gave us all, if you grew up in Washington, D.C., D.C. has changed a lot. They call it the DMV now, but I'm not from the DMV. I'm from the 202. I'm from the inner city. And to men twice my age, I'm in my 40s, but men twice my age. He was our father, and he was the type of guy that if you saw him or if you even just heard his voice, you're going to stand up, put a clean shirt on, and pull your britches up, and man, I just like that in itself was a dream, and I always wanted to be on the hilltop, because I never felt like I would be good enough.
Hey, Willie, I need to just quickly say goodbye to our 104.1 River West Radio listenership. You can continue to listen on Facebook and on YouTube. Sorry I had to do that, but they were just closing out, and I wanted to make sure we closed out with the live radio.
Okay,
but so go. I wanted to kind of tie the. You've got some. I know we could be on for a couple hours, and I know you've just taken a new position. You've just literally this week flown from Germany, where you've been staying for 8 years. I think it's 8 years. Isn't that what you said? 8 or 9.
8 in Germany.
8 in Germany and coaching over there, American football, but coaching football over internationally. But now you're in the U.S. again. And I brought that Coach Thompson up because you have a new title.
That's it hasn't even settled in because it's crazy. You know, it was always a bucket list dream of mine. And just to interject, Robert Schmidt was the first ever coach at Georgetown University, football coach. So that just tells you how deep of the history that I have and what that place represents for me. Just the Jesuits being a man for others, some of the things that people who come through that place embody. The same as with my high school was a all boys Jesuit high school, and it's just what they represent, and just the kindness. You talk about a pound of kindness. You talk about sacrifice, and those who never asked to be go by name or to seek recognition. It's just amazing, you know. And I think about it from the standpoint that I can never imagine, someone from where I'm from has the opportunity to represent the place, despite it being in my city. And you have no idea. Like I remember, I would almost say I've been trying to get there for 36 years. As far as I can remember. If I'm in my 40s now, ever since I can remember, my Uncle Steve told me, Georgetown Hoyas, you're going to Georgetown, But it was a place that almost seemed out of sight. But as long as Big John was there, we always felt like we were there. And I had the opportunity to visit one of my teammates, Akbar Wahid. He was one of my teammates at Gonzaga, who was an amazing football player, but he ended up taking the basketball route, and then he coached there. It's like an omen, And I remember him saying, "Willie, before you leave town, I need you to come. I need to give you something. You gonna make it up here? You sure?" And you remember how my trip was coming home for the first time in a few years. And I got there, and he just had some Georgetown apparel for me. And I can remember when I looked at it, I didn't think much of it. But as I was driving back to my mom's house, I looked over in the side and I saw it, and I just cried. I cried tears because this had nothing to do with Georgetown football. It was just the thought that I own something with the Hoya on it, being from Washington, D.C., and I felt like I belonged. And for the first time, I was a Hoya unofficially, but to me, that was the closest that I ever been. And I remember crying and telling him how thankful I was of that. And this, they say, if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Last time we checked in, I was working on a book of my own, Condor Moments 44, and I'm thinking about how I'm going to get that off, and how I was going to move to Florida and move to Florida and write full time, and maybe I don't know, do anything in the part time to keep my dream alive, like sleep on every team in Florida's front door till they give me an opportunity. And then I get an email a few weeks ago telling me that a position had come open and would I be interested. And I'm here, and it's a different feeling when you've had to cross as many rivers, you've had to cross as many oceans, you have had to pretty much be on the road your entire life to have an opportunity to come home. It feels different. There's no need for motivation. There's no need for me to I don't have to find it in myself to know what this represents. It's like I've made a lot of mistakes in the past, but this ain't gonna be one of them. This is gonna be uh, my testimony, and maybe the book has to be delayed because I guess I haven't reached my final chapter yet. And I might need to go back and revise some things. But in any event, I'm just thankful, and I know that someone's watching over me, and I know that the power of gratitude, just being thankful for the opportunity. Like, yeah, that's all I can say. I can go on and on and on about that, but
fortunately, they're going to be able to read it soon in the book, pulling each other along, and we're really, really glad that that whole chapter of you. I mean, originally it was going to be like a blindside story because you really have what I would consider maybe the original blindside story of being taken in by a very, very wealthy family and very affluent family in McLean, Virginia.
yeah.
And so, having that story, I thought that's the direction we were going to go. And then learning all of the stuff about you and Byron and your friendship and your mom and your, I think it was your uncle or your granddad who wrote the letter for you. It's been a while since I've actually written and read your story, but it's amazing to see you, and now just even here in the last week, flying in from Germany, having this new job as a coach at a big university, Georgetown University, back in your own home, and that whole wagon seems like pulling you along, as I know you've been pulling other people along, which we talk about in the book as well.
So I think when you talk about the family, just how you started it is why the story transitioned, because it was never really about wealth. It was about wealth of heart. It was about their heart and their just their compassion and their willingness to pull someone else along. That makes that story unique, because the lessons that I learned, the access and exposure that I was afforded, money can't buy. It's just about exposure, letting me see something bigger than myself, allowing me to see, allowing me to be able to dream further, see further. You know, so that's what it was that's what it was about. More so than anything outside of that, it was about a man with a big heart, a man who somewhere inside saw a piece of me in him. And his story has always been hard work and dedication and being a man for others. One thing you can say about Bob Schmidt, there's a lot of people who talk on Facebook. There's a lot of people who do a lot of Facebook advocating and talking about all the problems in the world and why the world is not such a good place. But there's very few people who step out on their own and walk the walk, talking how they walk it. And he's always been a man of action. And he's always been a man that let his deeds do the talking for him, as opposed to being a social justice pioneer via Facebook or social media. He's just always a man who fought the fought and walked the walk and talked the talk and just let his actions speak for himself. And he epitomizes what it means to pull someone along. He made a life out of doing that, even when others didn't agree with him. he never backed down from a good fight. And especially if it was for the greater good of another person. And yeah, that's Bob Schmidt for you.
So for those that don't know who Bob Schmidt is, Dave Clark and I had the privilege of meeting Bob 2 years ago. He was at that time, and I maybe still is. I'm not 100% sure. He was the head of the NFL Alumni Association. So he was a USC quarterback, if I got this right. He was an NFL quarterback, or he was in the NFL, and then he wound up being an actor. He wound up owning starting one of the largest telecommunications companies in the world. And tell us the story. I know it's in the book, and we're going to just hopefully whet some appetites here, but tell us the story about you being brought in almost in interview style to the Schmidt home.
Edited version or unedited?
Well, no, you can no unedited now. We're off air.
Okay. So one of my his kids were JD was 1 year younger than me. He was a freshman. No, he was my senior year. He was a freshman. So I've seen him around, but I knew he was going to be pretty good at football. But I didn't get too much attention to him. And I had a family. It was the Eglays, who Jack Eglay was one of my teammates, who him and his family had pulled me along to the next stop. And one day Dick Eglay said, I got a guy that you need to meet, right? So because we're trying to figure out where I'm going to go to school and get to college. And Dick says, I has a guy that you want to meet, right? And I didn't know him at the time, so he said, we're going to go meet this guy. You know his son, JD. I knew of him. I didn't know much of it, think much of it. And that's why I told you guys I got to go, because JD's kids has a baseball game tonight.
Okay.
So, at the Satchel Paige League. So I got to make my eventually. I got a little bit of time. Baseball usually goes a couple of minutes, right? But anyway, right. So I get to the house. We roll out to McLean. Being from Washington, D.C., you never leave the inner city from where I'm from. So we got a joke for Washingtonians. We never go to Virginia and we never go to Maryland, because if you do, you're going to go to jail, right? We just have this I don't know. It's this fallacy about anything outside of the inner city, and how people are. So we pull up into the driveway, driveway wrap around, and we get out and we go in the house, and Dick introduces me, and I think the Hammer, Bob, brings me into his office, and he has all these artifacts from all across the world. And he's telling me, he starts off with a good one about, being in the Soviet Union and doing business over there in Russia, and how, he had traveled the world, with his companies and so on and so forth. And the second thing he says to me is, after he lathered me up a little bit, he says, all right, sit down. One thing you need to know, Willie, is you can't bullshit a bullshitter. So give it to me straight. I told him my story, and by the time I walked out of that interrogation, he was like, "Hey, Patty, come meet your new son. He's going to be living down. He was going to be living downstairs, and in one of the bedrooms downstairs. Go get your stuff." I had no idea none of this was happening, and I'm like, really? And just from there, it was one thing to another, because, going to a prestigious school like Gonzaga, coming from the inner city, like, I was never challenged academically. I wouldn't say a dumb kid. I was always pretty good, but the type of education that you're getting down there, and the attention to detail, and what it takes to be a success, and just the whole the whole process of building you up and preparing you for the next stage, I'd never seen anything like that. And I came in as a sophomore as opposed to a freshman, and that's where you get most of your disciplines to make it for the next couple of years. So I'd already came in behind the eight ball, and what happened was when you go to a school like that, and if you're not in the top certain percentile, then it's going to be kind of hard to get a look. You know, maybe if I went to a public school in the city, I would have been all academia. But at Gonzaga, man, I was barely making it. So to make a long story short, academics and athletics go hand in hand, regardless of how good I was of a football player. No one was going to offer me a scholarship with those grades. So um, the Hammer took it upon itself. It was hammer time. Hammer time is a term that we use when we say it's time to go out and help someone. You know, so before you know it, it was his job to get me to college, and he said, "All I care about is you graduating from college." So uh, it was all this was happening like just like that. Willie, make sure you're ready to go tomorrow. We got a meeting up in Kutztown, Pennsylvania. You know, I got a friend up there. I got a meeting up there, but one of the guys on my board is the head coach at Kutztown University. You know, Willie, we're going here. You know, so Al Leones, he gave me a chance, an opportunity. God rest his soul. After that, I'm there freshman year. It's Willie. Meet me. I'm coming to pick you up. We got to go get your passport. We're going down to South America. I ain't never been out of Southeast. I'm like, South America, Willie. You got to drive to Arizona to go get your sister Angela. Willie, we're going down to the Olympics this week. I'm talking about going from ashy to classy real fast, and I didn't even know how to deal with it, you know. And that was just him being a, it wasn't about anything he could tell me and anything that he could say. It was about him putting boots to the ground, leading by his deeds. And all I know is looking back on it, all he was preparing me to do, all he was doing was giving me exposure. So by the time I was 19 years old, I'd already been to Santiago, Chile. I'd already been to Buenos Aires. I'd been to the Olympics. You know, 96 Olympics. I was sitting front row. I was sitting in Halle Berry seats. I got kicked out of her seats. He just gave me the audacity to hope and the audacity to dream. And I can say whenever I'm down or I don't feel like doing it, I think about the energy and everything that he represents, and you got to get back up. You know, just the exposure when he got inducted into his high school Hall of Fame. I'm out in California. You know, I'm out in L.A. What am I doing in L.A.? You know, I'm out there living the good life. You know, take me to where he lived and just paint the picture. Just painting the picture to now it all makes sense. What he was doing, and he was epitomizing pulling someone along and giving me tough love at the same time. Now, I mean, he cracking the whip on me and giving me things that the discipline and the tough love, but he never gave up on me. And until I graduated college, because when I left Louisiana Lafayette, I thought, you know, my goal was always to play football. So I got a trial with the New Orleans Saints, and I decided not to finish at Louisiana Lafayette, but to continue to try to chase the NFL dream. And it took to 2010 when I finally graduated. And you know who was there right in Paris? It was Bob, you know, and at my wedding in Lithuania, there's never been an opportunity that he didn't see a chance to be there for me that he hasn't taken advantage of. So he should have his own chapter, and he's a man worth praising. And he doesn't want any of it. He ain't the social media guy. He's nothing like that. But he doesn't care to be behind the scenes, and he's the greatest man to ever live.
Wow.
The most interesting man in the world.
He is that. I mean, he played in Spartacus. What else is crazier than that, right?
Right.
That was one of the stories he told us when we first met him. So he was in the movie Spartacus, which is I know he's got 1,000 other unique gems that he can share. But hey, we got one last question to ask you. All right, are you ready for the biggest question of the day? Hold it, you didn't freeze up on us, did you? So,
what we got?
Doug, Tom will be so mad at us, and he's one of our biggest faithful fans of this show. He wants to know what your favorite donut is. Can you handle this question?
Uh-oh. A lot of thought.
Give me
What you only know German donuts?
Does a chocolate eclair can count as a donut?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Give me anything with a lot of cream, a lot of filling. You gotta understand. I don't know what they call them in Italy, but it was like an original donut. I lived in Italy for 2 years, and I remember being in Naples, Italy, and I tasted a donut where they just squeezed the cream in there, and it was so good that I had to eat it in a corner because I was ashamed of how good it was. You know, I was crying tears eating that donut in the corner. So give me a lot of cream. Give me a jelly donut. How about that?
Jelly donut's good. It sounds like that Italian donut might be worth traveling to get to.
It put tears in my eyes. I was so ashamed. I was eating it in the corner like that because I didn't want anyone to see how good it was. And I'm saying to myself that the whole time as the tears came down my eyes, why does it have to be so good? I can't think of the name of it, but if you ever visit Naples, Italy, or in that region, you might can Google it about their famous donuts. It was a sin. It was
sounds like a good sin.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, but why does it have to be so good? And the tears rolling as the sweets were hitting my tongue. You have no idea. You've never had a donut that warm.
That's the best answer we've had, Tom. So thanks for always reminding me about the donut question. See, Dave has a love for donuts. Dave has a love for donuts. Now he wants to go back to Italy.
I don't know, man. That's if that was heaven on earth.
Got it.
People talk about utopia. That was utopia.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you get to that baseball game. Say hi to JD and whoever else is there from the Schmidt family. And and I know we could have you on again and we could go through a million other stories. So glad you're back in the States. You're not that far away. So hopefully we get to connect here soon. And good luck with this new venture as coach at Georgetown. And we'll be seeing you soon. The book I'm hoping is going to come out real soon. The website's getting finished. Tom and Laura, what are they saying here? Thanks from Tom and Laura. And we always appreciate Tom and Laura. They're also a part of the book, Willie. They've got a great story as well. That's in the book. So, well, it's been fun. It's been an enjoyable evening. Both of us outdoors. Dave Clark up from Florida. Just remember to pull people along.
Really great to have you on, buddy.
Yeah, I want to say one thing. To close us out, I want to say, we all have dreams and aspirations in life. And if you wonder why you haven't gotten there yet, or if you want to know how to get there, it's helping someone else along the way. And the more you help, the more you give, the more you'll receive. And I'm a testament to that because coming from where I come from, we're not supposed to make it. I'm not supposed to be here. But it was through the act of someone else that allowed me to afforded me the opportunity to be here in front of you guys. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate you, and it's been great to get to know you. We look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for joining the show. Good night, everybody. This has been the Pulling Each Other Along show with Willie Robinson.
Take care, Willie.
Take care, man.
All right, take care.